Recording in progress. You are in the meeting hosted by Carter Johnson with one participant. Two participants have entered waiting room. Check. Press CMD plus tilde to open pop-up or go to the participants panel to admit participants. Accessibility. 5 people entered.
Why? All right, I think I got it. Sorry for the wait. Somebody, if you will, type something in chat and let me just do as a double check. Anything, I just type hello or whatever, it doesn't matter. All right, yes, it's off. Sorry about that. Who knows? I mean, who knows how that happened? So here we are. I'm sorry. So irritating. I hate computers are awesome, but they also suck. Okay, so now let me try this again. Make sure everything's ready to go. All right, I'm sharing my screen. Okay, can y'all see that?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so typical setup, right? We have the standard content for all pages, right? So, pretty much every single page that we've started since the beginning of the semester, starts out this way, right? And that's the same case for all the other files that I've created. So remember I told you to create 2 more files in your HTML folder, page 2 and page 3. And then you should also have 3 images in your images folder. Right, so we have 3 images and a total of 3 HTML files, including the index. All right, let's go ahead and we might as well go ahead and create a link for our first JavaScript file and a link for the CSS. So I'm gonna make the link. So there's the link for the CSS. And then okay, and the link for, we haven't created these yet, right? We haven't done this yet, but I am creating the link because we already know how to do that. We might as well go ahead and do it right now before we even start with the CSS, which we'll go to next. We'll do some CSS. All right, so we have the link for the CSS file, which we're going to be naming styles.css. And we have a link to the script file, again, which doesn't exist yet, but which we'll be calling that to begin with. Okay, so let's create a new file in our CSS folder for the CSS stuff. Since our CSS file is styles CSS, I'm going to go ahead and save that and name it styles.css. Okay, and start doing that. Oh, sorry, I don't know what I'm doing here. The margin 0, and this should be margin. Okay, so we have some basic CSS here. Let's go back to the index and add some divs. Or a div, rather. So in this time, our wrapper is going to contain all of our content, but I'm going to create another div above the wrapper. And this one is just going to contain the links to the other pages. So which we're going to call menu. I'm not putting this in the wrapper this time, but above it, right? So it'll be menu first, and then wrapper. That's what I'm thinking I'm going to do now. Maybe I'll change my mind. But I think that's what we'll start, the way we'll do it today. It's so dark here all of a sudden. It got a bit darker. Maybe it's going to storm. Give me a second. I'm going to go turn on some lights. Better. Okay, so since we have a new div here with an ID, I'm going to go ahead and style that ID. It's basically going to be styled much the same as the wrapper. Um, for now anyway, unless we decide to change. We want to temporarily see what that looks like. We might as well do that. So the wrapper, let's just no, it's fine. It'll be fine. I know it's going to work, so I'm not going to worry about doing that. So we have the menu, which is so far just styled exactly as the wrapper is. And again, menu and wrapper. Okay. So what we're going to do with our first couple of scripts is basically we're going to have JavaScript stick in the data. So we're not going to actually type anything much else in the other pages, in any of the pages. We're not going to put our content there. We're going to put our content in arrays. And depending on which link we click on, it'll automatically just put the information in those other pages. All right, so we're going to create our first script file, right, which we're going to call script01 in our JavaScript folder. And we're going to just put all the arrays in that file. So let's go to the JS folder and create a new file. And we're going to call this script01. It's going to be in our JS folder, right? And script01.js. Okay. Now I'm going to use lorem ipsum paragraphs for this, right? So I'm going to open up the lorem ipsum page. And generate some paragraphs as we've done. Copy some text. Oh, I want to do word wrap. Okay. Let's do images too. And we have our images, right, in our images folder. My images are called Galaxy 1, Galaxy 2, and Galaxy 3. We have 3 different arrays, and each of them have 3 items, right? And that's because we have 3 pages. This is going to be very simple. In each page, we're going to input a different index, right? So for page 1, we'll get head 0, para 0, and IMGS 0. For page 2, we'll get heads 1, paras 1, and IMGS 1, and so on, depending on which page we look at. Now, just to make sure everything is working properly, I'm going to put a console log here. And let's just test the different arrays to see if they come out in our console. So our first array is called heads. So why don't we just put heads here, like so, and see what we get in the console. Okay, reload the console. It should say, and it does, it says page 1, page 2, page 3. Let's try paras. That's the name of my second array. And it has all the paragraphs that come out. That's good. Oh, wait. Yeah, okay, that works. And let's try GS. And that comes out too. Awesome. So those work. I don't need that console log. If you don't get that, or if you get errors, let me know if you can't figure it out. This is just really a way that I always test to make sure that the JavaScript and the HTML are speaking to each other properly, right? That I've named everything. I don't want to like do all this and later realize there's an error here. So now if you do get stuff that pops up in your console, then you know that you don't have any errors and that there's actually communication between the two files as well. Did that work for you? Or are you still catching up?
I got it.
All right, good. Anybody have any errors that's coming out? Or otherwise you're okay?
Good.
Go so far so good. Okay, so if nobody tells me to stop, I'm gonna move on. So I'm just gonna this script, that's all this script is gonna have, right? For now. I don't think I'll put anything else in it, but this script is just gonna be our data. We'll treat it like our data, our information. Instead of trying to put all of the code in one script, I'm just going to segregate it a little bit. So this one is going to have all the information, the data that's going to go into the web pages, the 3 arrays, and then the other script, the next one, is going to have the code that we need to insert the data here, right? Okay, so let's create another link to another script here in the index. Oops. And we'll call that script 2, not 3. All right, so we have another link to a different script, which means we need another script file in our JS folder, which we'll call script 2. All right, so we have 1 and 2 here. We have a link 1 and 2 here, right? So we want this function that we're about to create, we want it to load automatically, right? But we want it to wait until the entire window loads, until all of the code of the HTML loads. And so if you recall, if you want something to happen automatically when a page loads, but the page has to fully load, right? Once the page fully loads, then the function happens. We use window.onLoad equals function. That's what causes it to happen automatically. Now we want this function to happen in all of our pages, the index, as well as pages 2 and 3, right? We want it to happen in all of our pages. But when it happens, we have to tell the code to go to a certain place, right? We have to tell, the data to go to a certain place. If we want it to go into the index, we tell it to look in the main folder. If we want it to go into pages 2 and 3, we tell it to look in the index, the HTML folder, right? So we have two different conditions. We have the condition for the index, which is in the main folder, and we have the condition for the other two pages, which are in the HTML folder. So depending on those two conditions, we have to tell the content to go to two different places, right? So that means we're going to need a conditional. And the conditional will first determine, we did this in class on Thursday, the condition will first determine where are we? What is the name of our file, right? If we're in the index, then it tells it to go in a certain place. If we're in either page 2 or page 3, then it tells it to go in a different place. So the first thing we have to do here is find out which file we're looking at. If we're in the index, then we know we're in the main folder. If we're in one of the other HTML files, then we're inside the HTML folder. So we need a variable to contain the full path to web page, right? So there is a function, a property that allows us to get this URL. Keep in mind, when we get the URL, what we really want is the last item in the URL, which always has the name of the file in it. So if we get the full URL, ultimately what we want is just that file name at the very end of it. So we'll know we're in the index, or we're know in page 2, or we're know we're in page 3. So we go, I'm going to create a variable called var URL. Well, that created an extra page. Equals window dot location dot path name. Right, we did that on Thursday. Same exact thing. Okay, so we're going to create a new variable, and that's going to take, basically what it's going to do is we're going to have a little couple of functions that separate all the terms by the slashes, right? And that eventually just take only the one at the end, which is the file name. So we're going to call it var file, and first thing we'll do is split the path into all the different words in the path, which are all the different folders, right? And ultimately the path name. So var file equals URL split And what are we splitting it by? We're splitting it by the slash. You could split it by any character, but since the slash repeats itself between each term, right, between each folder, then we can split it that way. Now, we looked at this in class on Thursday. Let's just look at it again. Console.log file. Oh, wait, I forgot to turn off this. Hold on a second. I thought I saved this, but I didn't save it. So it should show us, we can see in the array all the items in the path, right? So I'm going to take a look at that. I'm going to copy this for you, just so you can see. Oops. This is what I got. This is what I got in my console, and it separated every item in my path. The original path, let's look at that. Let's put URL here instead, right? This variable, URL. The original one just said this. So in my console, I got that, right? Which is a string, right? Users, Carter, desktop, SB, blah, blah, blah. And we can see that it's each item here has been separated, which is separated by the slashes. Well, that's what split did, right? It split it by the slash and put it into an array of different folder names. Now, since you are in a different computer from me, yours are all going to be different, but the last one should be the same for all of us. Index.html, index.html, right? That's the full path. This is, once we split it up, we get index.html at the end. That's what we want. So split everything up, split the variable array URL up by the slash. So we get each folder and file in the path name ending up with index. So that's what I got in my console. So what I want to do at the end is not just split it. I want to get rid of everything except for the last thing, which is index. So to do that, we put dot pop. Pop removes everything except the last item. So if I now put file here, what I get is just index.html. So by doing this, because remember, URL is the variable that contains the path. URL is the variable that contains the path. So by doing this, by adding split and then pop, it ends up with just the name of the file, which is ultimately the piece of information that we want. We don't need the whole path name. We just need the last piece, right? Which is the name of our file. So now JavaScript knows that I'm in the index. That's key. We need to know that we're in the index. Okay. But I don't need that console log. I know that now in my variable file, right? I know that's going to contain the name of the file. Now this will work no matter what page I'm in. It'll work whether I'm in the index or page 2 or page 3. Okay, so I'm going to show you a new conditional statement. And it's called the switch statement. It works in some ways similar to an if-else. But I'll show you how we would do this in the if statement, and then I'll show you how to do it in the conditional. I mean, in the switch. Okay, so conditional statement determines which page is loaded, and that's index.html or 2.html or 3.html. And inserts different content from the arrays, right? So if we're in index, we want one set of content. If we're in 2, we want another set of content. And if we're in 3, we want a third set of content, right? Because in this first script, we have, this is for page 1, right? This is for page 2, this is for page 3, and this is for page 1, and this is for page 2, and this is for page 3. So we have different content depending on which page we're in. So the conditional that we know is the if statement. So if, now remember the variable is file. So if file is equal to index.html, right? If file is equal to index.html, what do we want? Well, we want the item from heads with 0, right? We want the item from paras with 0, and we want the item from imgs with 0. Okay, so we want to insert that content into the page. So document.get element by ID, and it's all going into the wrapper, right? So wrapper inner HTML equals we want some complicated stuff to happen. We want to do lots of things. Let's see how we're going to do this. Let's say we want the heading first for whatever reason. So h1 plus heads, which is the name of my heads array, 0 plus the closing h1 tag, right? Let's see if we can get that to work. Oh, it's there, it's just black, right? Black on black, that's why we couldn't see it. So until I change the color of this, let's change, sorry, I should have done this to begin with. Let's just make the background color white or whatever color you want to begin with. Just temporarily, we're changing the background color. There we go. So it works, right? We got the heading to be inserted and it's the right heading. We're in the index, and so we get to see page 1. We also want to see the image and the paragraph, right? Since all of it's not going to fit on one line, I'm going to go to the next line where the plus sign is. And then the paragraph. Let's see if that happens. And we got an image and we got a paragraph. Now my images are too big. We'll fix that with CSS in a little while. All right, so that's for the index. The index, right? Now let's do the other 2 pages. Even if we haven't looked in them yet, let's go ahead and do the other 2 pages. So that's if the file is equal to index, else if file is equal to 2.html, right? That's the next page. It's basically the same thing, right? The only difference will be we're not doing 0, but 1, right? For the next. So I'm just going to copy and paste this. And it'll be heads 1, imgs 1, and paras 1. And then the last one is page 3. So else, and the same thing, but with 2s. 2, 2, 2. All right, now in order to test the other two pages, we're going to have to connect the two scripts to the other two pages, right? We're going to do connect the other two scripts to the other two pages. So I can come back to this if y'all are behind, but I'm going to go ahead and connect the other two scripts to the other two pages. Page 2. Oh, I need to get, might as well get the CSS link too. So page 2, we put ... here, and oops, and here, and here. Well, that's page 2. Let's open that up. Page 2. And there we go. The image is not working. We can fix that. So let's go see why the image is not working for page 2. That's because we didn't put a ... right? In front of it in the IMG. So let's go to script 2. So if the file is equal to 2.html, it's not, we don't need the, it just like images, we need the ... in front of it, right? For page 2. We also need that for page 3. We need ... So for the IMG portion, for page 2, and for the IMG portion for page 3, we need to make sure that we have the ... here. All right, so let's fix that, see what, and it works. That's page 2. Let's do page 3. Oh, I gotta put those script links. Okay, ... for page 3. And it works also. Alrighty. Let's go back to the code though. We might as well fix it so that the image is not so big, right? Let's do that. Here in the wrapper, IMG width 100%, which would be 100% of the wrapper. Let's see if that helps. Good. There we go. And there we go. Okay. I want to simplify. Well, it'll be a little bit more complex, but I want to show you something that's actually going to help us in the long run. Show you that we can put code inside of a variable. And the reason I might want to do that is because we're using this 3 times. We really only need to use it once. Anytime we have repeated code, right? Code that's kind of repetitive, then we want to try to figure out a way to reduce that, to get rid of it. And so I'm going to end up putting that statement at the end here after the conditional. So I'm going to take it out of here. I'm just going to get rid of it in all three instances. And I'm going to create a few variables to simplify things a bit. I could just do one variable, but I'm going to put three. And I'll put them right here. Create temporary variables to contain content for output. So I'm going to call them H for the heads, P for paragraphs, I for images, HPI. And for the H here, right, this is going to be my heading. I'll put H equals, I need to get rid of that plus sign and put a semicolon. And then for the image, I'm going to use I equals, put a semicolon, and then P equals, and I already have a semicolon. And I'll do that for each one of these. H equals, semicolon, I equals, semicolon, P equals, and that has a semicolon, right? So let's do it again. H equals, I equals, and then P equals. So now I've put each line of this into a variable, H, I, and P. If it's indexed, then I get this heading and this image and this paragraph. If it's 2, I get this heading, this image, this paragraph, and so on, right? Now the content is just in the variables H, I, and P. So rather than have 3 separate document rights in my code, I can just have one now at the end. No. H, and I can put it in whatever order I want. I, P. Now why isn't that working? What did I do wrong? What's going on here? No error. If files with the index, I'm in the index. Then it should be this, HIMP. Oh, in her. Look what I typed with an H there. No wonder. I should have got an error. I wonder why I didn't. There we go. Now, if I decide, oh, I don't want the heading at the top, I want the image at the top, I can just rearrange how I concatenate here, right? I can put AI plus H plus P. and then I rearrange it. Oh, now I see the images on the top, then the heading, and then the paragraph. So there's, that's one advantage to doing this way. It's easier to rearrange the content or reposition the content if we want. Let's say we want the page to fade in also. Can do. I'm going to see that it also works here as well in the other two pages. We want it to fade in. Well, okay, that's easy too. Document dot get element by ID wrapper. Style.animation. Now we haven't defined the animation yet, so I'm going to have to do that in CSS, which we've done before. I'll let y'all catch up with this. Let me know if you have any errors. I'm going to comment that out until we define it in CSS, but that's what we're going to have to do. We'll put the animation here, and then, but first we have to define it in our CSS. We can do a few other things in our CSS while we're at it. I'm not going to show you the switch statement. I don't think we need to do that. Or maybe we do. Does anybody have any questions so far?
Why don't we have to read that HTML next to the else?
Why don't we have that here?
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we only have 3 pages, right? We have index,
Yeah.
2, and
Yeah.
3, right? So if it comes out index, okay, if it's not this, right, then we
Yeah.
rule it out. Then it's not index.
Yeah.
If it's not 2, then we ruled out 2. But we've ruled out index and we've ruled out 2. The only other option is 3. We don't have to ask if it's that, because we know if it's not this one, or if it's not this one, we know it has to be 3.
Okay.
Right? So for example, if you have 20 pages,
Yeah.
and you're doing this for all 20 of your pages, you would have to do it for all of them except the last one.
Except the last one. Okay.
Because then you're asking if it's this, if it's not this, if it's not any of those, then it must be the last one, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank
I
you.
mean, I could put
Hmm.
else if file equals 3.html, but it's a little redundant. We don't need it. It's not necessary.
Yeah, I see. Thank you.
Good question. Anybody else have questions? All right. So I'm going to go to the CSS and do a little styling there. Just a little. Let's style the excuse me, H1. Actually, let's make it back to black. Well, I want a black, since I'm using the sky, the night sky, I want it to be black. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then H1 is going to be, let's say a bit blue, but dark. I mean, but light. Text, align, center. And then how about size? I guess I need to do size too. Font size. 32, no, 40 pixels. And then P. Oops. Color. All right, let's see what that looks like. There we go, a bit better. All right, now let's define that animation. I'm just going to make it fade in, and so we've done this before. I'm going to call it fade in. Okay, and that's not going to work yet. I have to apply it with a document element by ID, but it will as soon as we do that. This is defining the fade. So we're naming the animation fade in. I could name it whatever I want. I could call it blah, blah, right? But I'm choosing to call it fade in because that's what it's doing. At 0% load, the opacity is completely transparent, which means we wouldn't see it. At 100% load, the opacity is fully opaque, so we'll be able to see it. So gradually, as the page loads, this is what we'll see. Okie dokie. Alrighty. So let's go ahead and put that in the script. Let me save that. So I'll undo this so we can set the animation. So we called the name of the animation was fade in, right? So the first thing we do is type the name of the animation. And then we type ease because it's going to be easing in. That's what that refers to. And then the duration. How long do we want that to take? Let's say we want it to take 3 seconds. We can change that duration if we want. All right. Now, then it does that. If we want it to go faster or slower, we can just change the number. Let's say, I don't know, 6 seconds. It'll fade in more slowly. If we want it to go faster, say 1 second. We can do that too. Or even half a second, right? We could put so what it does, I mean, even if you do it this fast, and in some ways it's a softer entry, or it lets the content come in a bit softer. It's not so harsh as just poof pops, right? So even I think sometimes even just a quick fade in is it's nicer. So but I'm gonna put it at say 3, or let's just put it so it's longer, just so we can obviously see it. Okay. And this works for all of them. Right. Okay. Does that work? No errors? Everything fades in nicely?
That's good.
Good. Now, the next little script here, I want to do basically the same thing, but I want to do it with just the links, right? I want to put the links at the top, and I don't, this is enough for one page, for one file. This is enough for one file. Let's create another file just to insert the links at the top so that we can go from page to page. So another script file in the JS folder, which we'll call script03. Remember, we have a separate menu div ID for the menu items, right? So that's what we're going to work on here. We want it to load when the page loads too, so it's going to start the same way as the other one, right? When the page loads. Right, so it starts out the same way. Okay, now I didn't create an array for this. Might as well go ahead and create the array for this, just like I did in all of them in script 1. So I'm going to go to script 1. I have my array for the headings, the paragraphs, and the images. I'm going to go ahead and create another array for the links, right? So this is in script 1, right? So var links equals new array. You can get that. Links 0 equals index.html. One and two. This is going to be 2.html and 3.html. Right. Make sure you save that. Now you should put the names of your files, right? If you didn't name them 2 and 3, then name them how you name them in the folder, whatever those are, right? All right, so we have our new array of pages, index 2 and 3, index 2 and 3. So I'm saving that. Now, once again, the links are going to be slightly different depending on whether we're in the index or in one of the other pages, right? So if I'm in one of the other pages, that means I'm currently in the HTML folder. And if I want to go back to the index, right, I have to put the // So the situation is slightly different whether we're looking at a file in the HTML folder or looking at the index. So once again, we're going to need to get the path, do basically this again, right? We need to do that again for the other file, in the other file. So I'm getting this, copying and pasting it right here. Same idea. Same file names. It's a different function, right? It's a different function. Even though it's the same function, it's a different function because we're in a different page, or it's a different onload function, right? So this isn't one onload function, and this is another onload function. So they're two separate functions. So it's okay to have file of variable names that are the same if they're in different functions. And different files in this case. Okay, so I know, once again, I know that whatever file I'm in is going to be contained in the file variable, right? So same idea here. Okay. Now, just like the other one, where I have variable names for the heading, the paragraph, and the content that I load up like this, and then have only one document element by ID here to put the content. I'm going to do something similar here. So we have var L1, L2, and L3. Okay. But I want to introduce a different kind of conditional statement, not the if else, but what we call the switch statement. The switch statement looks similar to the if else at first, but it's a little bit different. It's best, and I'm showing it because y'all are all going to be working with lots of different pages, and maybe instead of just page 1, page 2, page 3, let's say you decided you want to do it this way for all of your pages, although it's complicated. You could, and so the switch statement works best for many things, right? So if you have 20 or 30 conditions, the switch statement is best. We only have 3 conditions, right? Index, 2, and 3, but it works. So you'll still get the idea. So the switch statement looks very similar at first to the if statement, right? Where if would be if, and then the parenthesis, and then the braces, right? Here we put switch. And then in between here, we have the thing that's going to vary. What's going to vary is the file name, right? It could be index, it could be page 2, it could be 3, right? So the file name is going to be located here in that variable, right? So it'll be index.html or 2.html or 3.html. So what we put in between here is that thing that varies file. That's the variable that changes where each of the conditions is going to be. It could be this condition, or it could be this thing, or it could be this other thing. All right. And that could be index.html, it could be 2.html, it could be 3.html. So we have 3 different, what we call cases. The index.html case, the 2.html case, and the 3.html case. So we put case, and I like to tab it in, although you don't have to, case index.html, and then a colon, and then case 2.html, and then a colon, and then case 3.html, and then a colon. Okay. In the case of index, we want the first link, link 1, to be a href equals, well, we're in the index.html. And I'm just going to call it 1. We want link 2 to be a href equals HTML 2.html 2 and we want link 3 to be, oop, I didn't put a closing. That's if we're in the index, right? If we're in page 2, we want it to look a little different. We need to put a dot dot slash here. And then that. And then case 3 is the same. I didn't put semicolons there. Now at the end of each case, we always have to type this other line called break. So in the case of index.html, meaning if we're looking at the index, this is what we want the links to be. If we're looking at 2.html, then this is what we want the links to be. And the same for 3. And those are getting input into these variables. So then we need to do a document.getElementById by ID at the end. Where's my, sorry, my Zoom is getting in the way of everything. All right, so document. Get element. And this time it's menu, right? We're not putting it in the wrapper. Dot inner HTML equals L1 plus L2 plus L3. Let's see what happens. Okay, I did something wrong again. Did I not link it to the page? Maybe I didn't save my index. Oh, I didn't link it. I thought I did, but I didn't. We have to link the script, right? We only have 1 and 2. We have to link the script in all of our pages. Oops. 3. And 2. 3. 3. 3. All right, let's make sure. Oh, I have an error. Okay. Line. put a semicolon there instead of a colon. All right. There we go. Why is 3 missing? Why isn't any of the other content? Okay. These pages don't work. Oh my gosh. Do I not have a menu? I don't have a menu in the other pages, do I? I didn't put menu here, right? Page 2 needs a menu. Page 3 needs a menu. I got to figure out what the other errors are, which I don't know. Why is the rest of the content not coming up? I don't know. Page 2, page 3. Could be the name of the script. Let me do a couple of tests here to see what's going on, everybody. I don't know why it's not doing what I want. Why is it stopping after 2 and not putting 3 there? I don't know. Is everybody getting something similar to me?
Yeah, kind of similar. Yeah.
All right, so let me figure out what's not working here. Let me try a few things. Right. That's not it. Oh, I didn't put the semicolon here. I see. This is the problem. For that, I mean the quote. Okay, that now those are showing up, but why doesn't the other thing load? Because it doesn't. It's twice. I've done this before. All right, different solution. Let's see if I do this at the end. Let's call this one function.
Does the links array have to fit in anywhere?
It's gonna be up at the top. I think I know what the issue is, and I think yeah, okay. So it's not letting me do two window.onloads for the same file. So I'm doing it for the links. So this is the script 03, right? And this is the one where we're inserting the links. For the other one, which is script 2, I am calling it, instead of making it an onload function, I'm going to just call it, give it the name content. So it's function content. Now, this won't happen unless I call on the function name. So window.onload happens automatically when the page loads. So this script, the one with the links, will happen automatically when the page loads. The other function in script 2 won't happen anymore until I call the function name. Call it by name. So what I want to do is at the end, after I loaded the links into the page, because remember, the links function happens automatically, and this is what puts the links into the page. As soon as I put the links into the page, I'm calling the other function, which is called content. As soon as the links get put in the page, it activates the other function, which is for the rest of the content. So I call this content, this loads after the links load. The links are kind of jammed together. We can fix that with CSS, but they should work. So if I click on to save this, 2 and 3. So they work. We just got to make them so they're not jammed together like that. All right, so this is the only differences I made were to rename the function and name it content. And then I call that function, that's in script 2. And then I call that function at the end here of in script 1. So I'm going to say load function or run function that loads content. Okay, so let's differentiate the links over here so they're not jammed together. And we'll do that with CSS. Okay. So I'm gonna do it underneath the paragraph above the animation. So display inline. I don't want to put it back on column. Okay. And then the link states. Oof. I don't like those colors, but whatever. So basically what we've done here is created a website in which all the content is in the JavaScript. Okay. Anybody have errors or mistakes or questions? I can go back to some of the other files if you miss some stuff. No. I guess that's it then for today. Y'all there? Still there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, so that's all there is for today. On Thursday, like I said, we will do those things where we can transfer content from one page to the next. That's what we'll work on Thursday. And if there's something else that you want to investigate, just let me know at the beginning of class and we can try to fit that in as well. Okay. All right. If you have questions, feel free to stay. Otherwise, that's it for today. I think that was plenty for one day. So if you haven't yet, start working on your JavaScript for your sites. And I'll see you on Thursday.
Take care.
All right, y'all have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
You too. Bye. Hey,
I cannot load the menu.
oh, it's not loading? Okay, so
Yeah. Share my screen.
hold on a second. Okay. All right, so why don't you go to script 03 for me?
Wait. Oh, 1,
No, so go to script 02 for me first.
2. Okay.
Okay, so in line 6, this is where I renamed the function. So
Yeah.
delete, yeah,
this one.
so yeah, comment line 6 out. Right, and then yes, exactly.
Yeah. I tried it, but
That's fine. So make sure you save that.
yeah, save it.
All right, go to script 3 now.
You know.
And yeah, now.
But yeah.
Okay, so can I see your console?
Console.
The console.
Is
In
it?
the browser window, the console.
Okay.
So you have an error. So that's in line 35. So go to script 3, line 35.
335. 335. Here.
Yeah, so at the end of line 35, that should be a colon, not a semicolon. Right there, a colon. There you go.
Okay. Okay. Oh.
So we didn't do a minimum width, right? So if you make your window too small, the links will go underneath, but we would have to put a minimum width for that. Min width, remember that? Here, I'll show you. So stop sharing.
Stop sharing?
Yeah.
Oh, there's here. Okay.
All right, so if I wanted to, so if I make my browser window too small, right, the links go underneath, right? If I want to prevent that from happening, I can put a minimum width for the menu. Now, let me see. Let's try 300 pixels. Let's see what that works. So, nope, 300 doesn't work. What about 350? Nope, So 400. What's going on here? Pourquoi pas? I need to do something temporarily.
How about the person?
What?
How about the percent?
What?
Percentage?
No, that won't work. Hold on a second. This is just temporary.
Mm.
Why? This is temporary. You don't need. Why is this not doing that? Oh. Oops. Yeah, 400. So 400 at 30%, right? So I put for the minimum width at 400 pixels, and then for A, 30% instead of 31%. And then get rid of the background color. Get rid of that. That shouldn't happen anymore.
Mm.
Does it work?
Yeah.
So minimum width at 400 pixels for the menu. And then A, 30%.
Yeah.
It doesn't go to the next line anymore. Okay.
Yeah, it works.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Oh, I'm good so far.
All right. Well, good luck, and I'll see you on Thursday.
Okay. See you.